All right, so tonight is the official relaunch of the Tell No Lies podcast. This is episode 1. I'm not the co-host. I'm
You
the
are the
host.
host.
I'm the host, and this is my new and improved co-host, Dr. Ashley Contorno.
Hey.
Well, before we dive into how Ashley became part of this journey of mine, and I'm glad to be a part of your journey as well. Before I dive into that, obviously, we've had some retracting steps with my podcast. This has been a long time coming. I would say about 2 years, but we came out with the podcast back in August, and my producer that I was working with at the time, we had difference of opinions, is the best way to kind of put it that way. And so, luckily, we only came out with the intro, kind of like what we're doing tonight, the introduction of the podcast. What was the reasonings for starting it, all those other things. So, so just to give you a backstory of why we're doing another relaunch, and we got now, like I said, we got Ashley on board. Before we intertwine our stories and how we became friends and everything like that, I just want to kind of reiterate the initial mindset when it came to creating this podcast. Me and Ashley have had a lot of good conversations in such a short amount of time. And one of the things that I harped on was that, in your journey on social media or just in life, people see you for different parts of you throughout that journey, right? And so, as I've made my journey and I've progressed in life, both in failures and successes and learning, the struggles of life, I realized in those parts of my life, people know me for different phases, right? And obviously we can get into more detail about like the phase in which you knew me for, right? You obviously see me now, but you knew the phase then. And so I think why Tell No Lies became such a big thing for me is it allows me to take my journey from then and take to all those pieces of where somebody remembered me from and take it to where I'm at now. And this podcast is that unfiltered, that raw, having conversations about mental health, relationships. I mean, all the different trials and tribulations that I feel like people go through on a daily basis, but not very many people talk on it, right? And I mean, perspective too is everything. And so I feel like on social media, people only see what we show them, right? And we can't always express emotions to a T on social media the way we could with our mouths or talking about certain things, a lot of the conversations we've had. So I think that's another reason why I wanted to bring, the Tell No Lies podcast to life, was to have those conversations, to hear it from someone's perspective. Not saying I'm right or wrong in any of, the things that we discuss. I think it's a personal preference for things, but also bringing light to it, right? And I think growth comes from accountability, right? And when you can take accountability for your wrongs, your rights, whatever it might be, you continue to grow. And I think that's the hardest thing, right? I'm sure you've struggled with being accountable for certain things when you want to be right. And so I think that the Tell No Lies podcast is embodying all those things. But mainly, it allows me to show people, hey, these are all the things that you guys remember me for. This is where I'm at now. And this is the journey I took to get where I'm at. And so, that's just a little, like I said, a little backstory on where the podcast became relevant to me and where it sat with me. Now, to kind of piggyback off of how we became friends, a short little story, and then I'll let you. I feel like you want to tell the
I
story.
do want to tell the story.
Yeah, so I feel like I'll just give you the basic, right? And so, we've created a community within the gym at Fit Club. People have come in and out, and I've been one of the people that have been there since day one. And so, the group of girls that you've been friends with, obviously outside of that gym, you created friendships on your own. I remember one day we were in the gym and they were talking about a new friend coming, to Fit Club to train and have a new girl. And, they were giving a little backstory. And, at that moment, which is kind of perfect because they only told me what most just hear, just the generalized version of, how your husband passed away and it had to do with steroids. And they kind of gave me the whole rundown of, how it unfolded, not in great detail, but in the detail of where I was like, if I was him, I would have done the same thing. If it was one of those choices of like steroids and the chance of dying, I would have done it. But again, they were just hyping you up, a cool person, love to be around this girl, like the hype, all the whole thing, right? And so that was already my interpretation going into it, was what they were showing. So I'll let you go into the story of how we met after that, but that was a good setting to know where we are now and to remember those beginning moments of what they were sharing with me, and how that translated to be exactly what you are.
Yeah. So I saw you at the gym a couple times. Like I actually picked where I moved here to Vegas. I just moved here in January based on the logistics of where Fit Club was, because I wanted to be close to that gym. I loved that gym. And like you said, like the community, the vibe, it's just a really good place. And I wanted to go into somewhere where I had friends. And I had been following Devin on Instagram since 2017.
It's a
It's a
long
long
time.
time. We're committed already.
And wait, real quick, when were you married at that
I
time?
got married in 2017.
Okay, so like right around the time you got
Yeah.
married.
I don't
Okay.
know why I followed you in the beginning. And honestly, the algorithm just like flooded you out. Like I haven't seen any of Devin's stuff until you had content with my friend Jill, and who is unspeakable at this moment, but she posted that she was here or with you, and then I kind of clicked on your page, and that's how you
And I
re-entered.
think just liking it a couple
Yeah.
times or seeing it, it like brings you back. Because I've had people that have said that, like, dude, but I haven't seen your
Yeah.
shit. Like, and that's just the algorithm kind of replacing. If my content's changed and your content is more a specific way, it's probably just shuttling. But it just goes back to the point about like how you some followers just don't engage because they don't see your shit.
So now I had been seeing your stuff, so I recognized you. I saw him at Fit Club, maybe like the first or second time I was there, and then saw him again the second or third time I was there, and then he approached me, invited me over to hang out, and I was like, "What is this hangout? Okay, we'll hang out, we'll get high, we'll chill." So I came over, and of course I dressed cute. Cause listen, in my mind, ladies, you can identify with this. This was like a checkbox life item list. Like, I know you don't identify as a porn star, but in my mind, you're a porn star.
Oh my
So I was like,
that was
this
amazing.
is my chance to fuck a porn star. Like, yes. So in my mind, I already had conceded that if we were going to get to that point at any time during the night, I was down. And ABC is a rule that I live by.
What's
Always
ABC?
bring condoms. Okay.
Oh.
So I did. Packed a couple in my bag. So I come over, we get high, we're chilling, we're talking, we're vibing for like hours. Like
Yeah.
4 hours. Just like good conversation. And I was like, I don't know what the vibe is though. Is it a friend vibe? Is it a fuck vibe? What is the vibe? So
And I would assume, like in most interactions, you wouldn't have that type of vibe where it was you feeling like it was uneasy about that, right? Usually, do you feel like the guys that you would just out the gates, you weren't having those types of conversations with them? So it was kind of weird at that sense, right? You're getting like extra intelligent conversations, but like still, are we fucking?
yeah,
or
I
not?
didn't know what it was. And then I told him that I was going to leave because I go to bed early, y'all. Like,
I go to bed early too.
yeah, but I think I go to bed a little earlier.
Give or take.
So I had declared that I was leaving, and then he turned on the magic. Like you have a different persona when you go into work mode. It was like a little different persona when you got into like getting at me mode. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And should I go into explicit details?
I feel like just the funny one,
So
because that's really what matters.
fast forward. Well, you're an excellent kisser. He's a really good kisser. Like just you are.
I appreciate
it was
that.
good. Got me more excited. So we're getting to the point where it's going to go down. Okay, fast forward.
It's about to go.
It's about to go down. And you told me to like bend over, and I was just like, wait, I must get a condom. So I went to my bag to go get it, and you followed me out. And then you were really declaring just how it was going to ruin the experience for both of us because
Yeah, it was. I think the experience was already ruined at that
well,
point.
right.
Like just that transition to go get it.
Well, you protested like a 3-year-old child putting on a Halloween costume.
What does that mean?
Like, I don't wanna.
Yeah, because I already knew what it was gonna.
Right.
what
So
it was gonna
you
lead
told
to.
me how it was going to be a bad experience because it was going to inhibit your performance.
Yeah, I said I have a test to prove.
So the condoms is a lot more of a emotional boundary for me. So anyways, so I tried to put on this condom and it wasn't working. And I'm like, I put on,
Because it was too small.
I'm getting there.
Okay. I'm just
The
saying.
condom was too small. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't subscribed to his OnlyFans, there's a lot to see on there. If you know what I'm saying, a lot to see. And so I tried to put it on. I couldn't do it. I literally threw the condom on the floor, got another one because I thought maybe it was the condom, like I was doing it backwards. And I go to put that one on, and you're like, see, I told you. And it wasn't working.
Was I saying it like that?
Yes.
I don't
Threw the condom in the air, and I was like, I'm not even horny anymore, Devin. And then we talked for a little bit longer. And then I think the next day or two, I was just like, listen.
I felt like it was the same night.
No, it was the next day.
Okay, the next day.
I was just like, we're gonna be best friends. Let's get the sex off the table and just be buds. And here we are.
Yeah.
Best buds.
That's exactly how it was.
But everyone on the internet thinks that we are having sex. So we tried.
we did.
And to no
we just
avail.
epically failed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's how you know it was meant to be that way,
Yeah,
right? You were meant to bring the small
that's
condom.
right.
Yeah,
I,
we weren't meant to fuck. That's just what it came down
I
to.
now carry multiple sizes
Yeah, see,
for
you
this
so
reason. Thank you,
you
Devin.
you you learned from a bad
Thank you.
experience. That's just how
Yeah.
it goes. But after that, I mean, we became close really quick, and so, we've had a lot of conversations about like your husband and all those things, and like I told you before, when it came to finding a co-host, because after that incident had happened, it's like for me, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? There's a reason for it. I don't push things. Sometimes people want to start things really quickly because they're just so urged for it, and I guess there's an equal medium for it, right? And instead of putting it as like a failure every time, I just felt like maybe it just wasn't meant to be, so I know once we had a lot of good conversations that we started getting closer to. I think I pitched the idea to you
Yeah.
once randomly, and then that was kind of the end of it. And then it wasn't until you, like I said, you posted that thing on your story one day where you were talking about feeling like a loser. And when I heard you, or when I saw you write the word loser, I didn't interpret the way that you were saying it, and maybe you thought of it that way too. Obviously some people are going to think the worst, right? And that I looked at it like, because I understood what you were saying,
Well,
right?
let me explain what that was.
Go
So
ahead.
I moved here at the end of January. I own a gym, and I've always been a high achieving individual. I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I have a private practice. And like since my husband died in June of 2023, outside of running the business, I haven't done anything for my profession or interpersonally. And when I moved here, I was like, all right, I'm gonna like really find my purpose and find something to do. And just nothing was calling to me. So I just like posted I was down in the dumps, that I felt like a loser because I'm not doing anything, not like if I don't have progress towards a goal, I feel like I'm taking 10 steps back. And he saw that post where I was just kind of dogging myself and identified with it in a way that like pulled us together even more.
Absolutely, because I've felt that way too, right? And I think a lot of that for me is, people only see me for social media, right? And so I know I have so much more to say, to offer, to talk about, even from a personal level, right? And putting it on a podcast per se, but nobody knows that, right? And so I think that stemmed from like, what's that next direction for me that really excites me? And a lot of yours obviously stems from losing your husband, so it's like you have to now create a whole new life for yourself that doesn't compliment him in any
Yeah.
way. You don't have him anymore. So I think that's a lot of that driving force of, you were on top here, you had everything, the business thriving, you have the man of your life, all the things that you would want, and then it's pretty much taken. Then on top of that too, which makes it harder, is you also had those businesses with him. So it's like you don't even want him
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's one thing to lose someone, but you're like, everything else goes
Yeah.
too. And I think that was one of the big reasons why you moved here too. But you also were only here 2 weeks too.
Yeah.
So like even from that standpoint, right, you're like feeling like a loser 2 weeks in, but that's just a mentality of somebody that wants more for themselves, right? So when I saw that, I don't know why, it related to me, and I felt like it was more driving to that purpose of, maybe I didn't push it enough, to bring attention to having you on. And then we had more conversation about it, and then Katie or Stella was talking about how your just your aura, and when you talk, people tune in, and it was just aligning. It was weird how these conversations are happening between me and you, and then she's saying that, and I was like, this is perfect. And obviously we had the conversation. I think one of the big things too was your attention to detail of wanting to get on it
Yeah.
too, right? Finding a partner that like that, let alone even conversations, is hard to find, right? So to be able to link up in that way, and it seems like even a lot of Steven characteristics are very much like me. So it's like a blessing to have all those things in one, and we're creating something, and hopefully bringing awareness through the podcast, the way that we want to share, and just in the conversations we've had.
Yeah. And like something that's important to me, because to me this is like a business venture. It's like we're taking this seriously, and like his strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa. And I was like,
Absolutely.
I'm going to start an LLC. We're going to start a website. We're going all in. If I'm doing this with you and my insignia is on that, it is professional. It is all in.
Absolutely.
And like that is what I had with Steven. Like he said, like we were opposites in our business brain, which is not something you want in a relationship, but in a business partnership, it is A1 importance to have someone who can pick up where you are weak, because you want the best team as possible. And if you guys have the same strengths, but we don't, And it's like it's the perfect yin and yang of a business of like, okay, you want to succeed at all costs, so I want my partner to be able to do the things I can't.
Hmm.
And that's why I was excited too, because you putting your name on something, you're not going to treat it like shit. You're going to
Absolutely.
make it nice, you know? And
Make it
we
nice.
we really want this to reach the audience that it was intended to, because we have a lot to say and we've learned a lot in our lives. And you've already, had a lot of individual experiences where you've helped people, and I've been super vocal on my social media with my journey with losing Steven, and just how many people I've reached and how many more can we in this capacity.
Yeah. Now, what would obviously I brought it to your attention, but what made you feel like it was aligning with you that second time? Because remember, we talked about it once. It was very brief, but I mean, that was just in the beginning stages of the good conversations we were having. Because I think that's a big factor in it too, right? You can sit across from anyone, but the conversations aren't going to be the same, right? They're all going to be completely different. Some never going to reach their potential because they're not to that same degree that you're at. So, like, when I said it to you the second time, like, what made you feel like that was like your calling for you, maybe different than the first time?
Well, because I got to know you better and I
Mm-hmm.
realized I can argue with you. I
Mm.
like arguing with Devin.
Oh my god.
It's like having someone that you can have witty banter with, go back and forth, disagree, and still walk away just as much friends as you did when you started is. You can't find that match in every relationship. Either
True.
one
True.
person concedes because they just don't want to push, they don't want to argue, or one person gets overbearing and one person gets butthurt. Like,
Yeah, I think we've actually had, strangely enough, like I don't think we've ever had, like, even in the intensity of some of our conversations we've had, like that would lead to an argument with
yeah,
somebody. Like we've never had a situation like that. Even if it was one or the other, it was like if someone said something, it directed it where it needed to be, and that was the end of it. No one was looking at it like someone was right or wrong.
I feel like when someone has a difference of perspective, it can help you challenge your own narrative and your own lens, because, right, like I only know where I'm at in life through the life experiences that I've had, and your life experiences are vastly different. And like there have been some things where you've changed my perspective and vice versa. And it's nice. And sometimes to get to that point, you have to kind of
Yeah.
argue, because it's hard to just shed that layer of your identity, right? Like this is something that I've believed firmly, and
Yeah.
now I need to change my perspective. So like change usually comes in stages. So that argument can be the stage to help with acceptance of something that's new. And like I don't know, just it's just the vibe was right, and like getting to know you as a person, like you're a good fucking dude.
Thank
You
you.
are. And I'm excited for people to get to hear more of your story and get to see a side of you that you don't get to portray to the masses with what you do for your work and just who you've been in the industry of fitness and everything like that.
Yeah, and that's why I think the podcast was something that was like that next calling for me, because it allows me to be transparent, right? And through all the things that I've endured on social media, I mean that's pretty much been my life the last 14 years almost. So I translate everything to social media, but my entire journey across it all, like I feel like people have either had spurts of that, they've dealt with very similar things. So I think it's just bringing things to light, and again, just taking ownership for things that you could have done better. Or I mean, even scenarios where you know it's not that you could have done anything better, you were just in that situation at that time, there wasn't anything you could do. And bringing light to all the different things that led to the ups and downs, and again, sharing your story too. I think that's also a big empowering thing for a lot of people as well, and it just brings added intensity to our conversations because you've been through a lot of things too.
Yeah.
So I think that also makes the dynamic of the relationship different in itself, because you're 36,
Yeah.
right? Yes. See, I got it right
You
this
did. You
time.
did. You were making me older earlier.
Was Steven your age or
I
mine?
was 2 weeks older than him. So we were both the same. He died when he was 34.
So inevitably, would you say that moving to Vegas from LA was just strictly to like reset, and you like looked at it like never did you think I'm gonna move to just somewhere else in LA or and stay in LA, and you could still eliminate all those things and be in California? Like, what was the deciding factor to make your way this way?
So I had, I think, 4 options that I was choosing from. Because basically, like, so we owned 2 properties, and I still own the gym. So I've been able to sell those 2 properties. And once it took me 18 months to get to that point where I was like, all right, I can finally move. It's because it's not easy just to snap your fingers and get up and go when you have a lot of responsibilities. And now I'm the sole person with all those responsibilities. But as I was thinking of where I wanted to go, I hate LA
I'm
with
with
a
you for sure.
passion. It's a great place to visit, a terrible place to live, and California in general, just like how expensive it is. Just it wasn't my jam. It was never my jam. I moved to California to be with Steven, and luckily I loved him more than I hated that place because that was the only thing that kept me there.
Yes, why are you there now? Yeah.
So I was gonna choose between Phoenix, which I had lived in Scottsdale before and I loved it, um, Dallas, Vegas, and I did think I had San Diego on the list just because I love San Diego. But really, my choices narrowed down between San Diego and Vegas because I didn't want to be too far from LA if I needed to go back to the gym on a moment's notice.
Makes
It's
sense.
4 hours, 4.5 hours right now. And with Vegas, I already had a huge built-in friend group. Like,
Because San Diego.
I no, I have a lot of friends there too.
Oh, you
Yeah,
do. So what was the deciding factor between
just
the
like
two?
getting out of California, and
Oh, and just completely out of a different state.
yeah, the gym scene here is so nice. Like that was a really important factor to me to have a good gym scene since I am a gym snob. I wanted to be somewhere that had an affordable cost of living, that was easy to get to places, a lot of things to do. So Vegas just fit that bill for every single check mark. And I've been so happy since I moved here. Since I left the desert in 2015, I've always wanted to go back. I love it.
Wait, so you lived
I
here
live in
before?
Phoenix.
Oh, Phoenix.
Mhm.
But do you feel like they're the same?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't.
It's definitely hotter in Phoenix.
No, it's hotter here.
You
Yeah.
think so? I don't know. Don't they get monsoons
Yeah.
too? Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I'm not down for that. I think it gets hotter
I
there.
don't know. We could.
They'd be hitting the 120s. I don't think we get to 120.
It
over
was
here.
like 123 here
here.
last year. I saw
When?
videos of people cooking eggs on the sidewalk.
Bullshit.
We're already arguing. I will show it to you. We will find.
But you do have to let them know that aside from the arguments, usually is a winner. I would say 9 times out of 10. We
Usually
agree to
Devin's right, but
disagree.
I think
Usually
on this
don't.
one you are wrong. It
About
was hotter here
one
last year.
day maybe, but I think that Phoenix's summer, its hottest day, was hotter than Vegas's hottest day. That's the best way to compare it. We can't go like one day in Vegas it was 123. I mean, I'm sure it was one day, but what about consecutive?
We'll
I
do
bet
the
you
average
Phoenix is
temp. We'll
hotter.
do it, and we'll put it in the pod for the users that are listening.
I'm like so confident that I'm. Right.
Same.
Yeah, but how's that been doing for you?
I admit when I'm wrong.
Like by saying fuck you.
Fuck you, Devin. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way. You're like, I'm like, I won. She said fuck you. Did you see the notes that I
Yes.
that I put in there? I think you put fuck you. See?
We have a shared note where we're making episode ideas, and he just was talking shit to me in it.
Because I was
'Cause
right.
he was right.
Yeah. So, but again, I think that all the different episodes that we've been talking about, I think that they've been good ones too. I mean, even in just our normal conversations, and so I'm excited to touch base on like all those little ideas that we've had because I feel like they're relatable to a lot of people out
Yeah.
there. I don't know your history on like how you felt that your coming was kind of similar to this. Like, was it? I know you do those little like online sessions, right? Like, do you feel like those leveraged the idea in your head that like getting onto something like this or speaking in this way was like that calling for you, or was there other things that related to that? Because a lot of mine is based off of like like our conversations, right? If I work with someone, maybe I have conversations with them, but I just realized those types of conversations fueled me in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, my personal life goal is to change the world in some way.
Mhm.
And whether that's from the knowledge that I have and the experiences that I've been and being able to tell everyone that I know and have it affect other people. But I feel like it's a calling that I have since my husband died, and I have this perspective that is so unique on grief and on loss in life at such a young age that grief is it's a vocabulary, it's a vernacular that we're not taught. We don't talk about it. We shy away from it. We don't want to hear about it. And when someone dies, that relationship doesn't end that you had with them. It's not like a breakup where it's like you're disassociated from that person, especially your partner, which there's been an analysis where like losing a spouse is the most significant loss that you can have next to a child, then to parents, then to grandparents. So when people try to tell me they know what I'm going through because their grandparents died, I hate it. Or I had someone compare their dog dying
That's.
to.
But do you think maybe they're just trying to like be
Yes,
sympathetic?
but there's also other ways, like when this is actually something that I've learned and that I teach. When someone is trying to empathize with you, what they're actually doing is detracting from your experience. It's like, "Oh, I understand you're saying that, but I have that too." And it's like, "No, just allow that person to feel their feels, and you don't need to have a comparable story."
So in a scenario like that, if you were in that type of situation, would you just want them to like listen and say nothing? Is that like the best way to respond in that?
Just
See, 9 times out of 10, it's easy for me because I don't even know what it feels like. So I just say like, "Girl, I don't even know what you're
you
feeling."
could say that. You could say
That's what I would say because that's the most genuine answer for
the
me.
best thing you can do is like agree with them. Like, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, and see, yeah, I would say like I couldn't even imagine what that would feel like. Like, so yeah, I agree. Like, whatever you're feeling, I'm you're feeling it, not
yeah,
me. But I think some people they push that sympathy card and then they realize like, okay, that's not even the same.
yeah. Like we
Your
actually
dog, really?
we or someone talking about like someone almost dying is close to.
Yeah, just the
Yeah,
comparison. Like you said, why do you got to
right.
compare?
So it's
Right?
just
Just it's not your moment. Like we're not talking about anything significant like that in your life. So why are we bringing that as a comparable
yeah,
object? Because even if even significant others, like it could still be a completely different dynamic. What if the person that died on you was a piece of shit and you were happy?
right, right,
And they're sitting there. Oh yeah, I remember when he died. Yes, fuck
right.
yes. So, but I think it's just more about like people just wanting to chime into the relevancy of like, oh, I know how traumatic that is.
Yeah, and they think it's helpful, but it's actually hurtful.
Yeah, I could see that.
And back to like why I chose to move here and just like moving in general when you've gone through something like that, like trauma, grief, a really negative experience. Like I took, because LA is difficult logistics wise, I took a different route to go to the gym or work than I did home. And every day when I went home, I had to pass the hospital that Stephen died at.
And that was
I
mandatory
mean, I could have done it, but it was like, am I going to sit in traffic to go?
just to
Right.
avoid it.
And so it just sucked. So, like, being here and being like, I got agoraphobic in Los Angeles. Like, I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to do it. I'm a social butterfly. And this girl was like, how quickly can I put on my pajamas? And I didn't do shit
How long did that
the
last?
entire time I was there since he died.
So up
And
until
it
you
got
moved to
worse and
Vegas.
worse and worse. Like,
So from the day he died to Vegas, you were like,
while I was in LA, when I wasn't
how
there,
how long was that?
18 months.
Damn, just a lot of it's like so I couldn't even imagine that you're doing less than what you were doing in those short 2, 3, 4 weeks of being here where you were calling yourself a
Yeah.
loser and you were actually the loser back then you were just allowing it to consume
I would
you.
go to the,
But why but you were just like not thinking that way?
I just didn't, what?
Like in that moment you were just more about the grief and that's
Yeah, I
it.
was so depressed there. I was so depressed, like clinically depressed.
So what changed? What made you have this idea in your head that like enough's enough?
Well, I knew I wanted to move the moment he died, but it
Uh-huh.
just took all the time because when he passed away, we were in the process of buying a home. We lived in a duplex that we owned. We lived upstairs, and I was like, I don't want to live in an apartment that we own anymore. I want a house. So we went and found this house, and we were actually supposed to sign the papers to purchase the home the day after he died. So it's kind of like fortunate that he died the day before
Yeah.
because not the day after, because they wouldn't have funded the loan and all this. So they rewrote the loan just for me. So I bought that house. So I moved from where we were living, which sucked to be there. I was there for like 2 months, and it was like every noise I heard, my brain, our neural connections are just so wired to like recognize patterns. Like when I heard a noise, I would think it was Steven walking up the stairs. Like the motherfucker ain't coming home, and like it would just jolt me and it just sucked. And like the manner of which he passed, like started in the middle of the night and it started at the house. And like then all these people brought over like huge portraits of us and like it was like a mausoleum, like a living, breathing. And I just hated it. So once I moved,
Did you tell them like enough's
yeah, I
enough?
did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then when I moved, I felt better. So it was 2 months later, I moved into that new house. I really invested into like decorating and doing everything. And it felt better for a time. And then I just slowly started to get more and more depressed. Like, because we owned the business together and our lives were so intertwined, it was like the moment he died, my life that I still have to continue to live is not the same. And it's a living, breathing reminder how it will never be the same. Like going into that place that we started together, just two kids with a dream, and like walking into there just made me miserable. It still does. And I still, if anyone wants to buy South Bay Strength Company, please hit me up. Shameless plug. But I'll get there. And now I have someone running. I have a manager running it. So it took a lot to set up all those things. And then I sold my house now because I couldn't just walk away and be paying all. I wish I was that rich to be paying for all those properties and leave. But I knew immediately, like, okay. And a lot of people disagreed with me, and that was something that I continuously still deal with. Is people projecting what they think I should be doing in this moment of my grief progression, because I'm a very sexual person. Okay. And people's judgments of me for posting myself in different stages of undress online and how that's disrespectful to steal. Like, he would be like sharing that shit, like gassing me
Yeah,
up.
but it's like unsolicited
Yeah.
opinions from people all of a sudden.
Yeah. And like just people really inappropriately, oh, you shouldn't. Why don't you just hire a manager and keep the gym? Because I don't want it. Because this is my life. And now it's exactly that. Like moving to Vegas, removing myself. Because the moment he died, that life died as well. It was a great, it was the most wonderful 7 years of my life. It was a fairy tale the entire time. And it's over. Period. That is the end of that chapter. And I think people so much like want you to continue to live on for that person, but I need to live for myself because he is dead. And the best way that I can honor him is by living a full life. And so I was just like, I need to do everything I can do to start Ashley's new chapter. So I've been here for just over 2 months, and like day by day by day, I'm just feeling better and better and more like myself and happier and like enthusiastic. And I don't feel like a loser really anymore. That was like a month and a half ago. And just the pressure I'm putting on myself to like hurry up and do something, I'm realizing that I'm financially okay and I just need to like be like,
Yeah, just let things come.
marinate, like live this new life. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think that's another reason why this podcast, the connection between, where you are in your journey and the struggles you've been through. And, obviously even just giving a brief history of the transition, right? We're talking about Steve and Deb, but there's no details, right? And so I think one of the main things we're going to focus on in the podcast coming up with the episodes, talk a bit briefly about what the episodes are going to look like. I talked about the journeys and how people see you in different lights. So I want to shed lights on all those specific journeys in which people have seen me, and give a little bit more detail into stuff, whether it's the shreds related thing. Obviously people, have their assumptions to things. They know certain things they don't.
He's going to spill the deets on the shreds, okay?
So we'll dabble into that, and we'll give more specifics, just from my opinion, right? It's been over a decade, and
you've never publicly talked about that.
No, I haven't. I think I addressed, again, that these are times when I was 25, 26, different mentality in life, a lot of different scenarios. So, just like when you talk about the haters and the people trying to speak for you, it's like, if you were in my position, what would you be doing different?
Right.
Everyone has something to say when they're not actually going
the
through
unsolicited advice.
Yeah, absolutely. But you just got to learn to drown it out. I think that's part of it. I think the difference in yours is like they were like probably like mutual friends of yours.
Yeah, and because we built the gym and all these people idolized us, like we were mom and dad to everybody.
Yeah. So that's even probably worse because they were close
like
friends,
family.
right? And I'm getting it from the people that don't know me, but in large quantities.
So they feel even more liberal to tell you what.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the first to tell you, especially the ones that aren't doing better than you. They want to feel good about themselves in those moments that something's wrong with you. So, we'll dabble into, obviously that, like I said, I haven't shared really anything. I've had conversations here and there. I haven't really shared too many details with you. I haven't really shared too much at all in the time period in which that's passed to now. Again, still random people will bring stuff up from that light, but it just trips me out sometimes. I'm like, it's been 10 years. And like, again, it goes back to what I said about the people see you in different parts in your journey. Cause I'm like, damn, there's still people thinking about that 10 years ago.
We made some funny reels, and someone was in my DMs of like the first one we posted. Like, no, not the shreds guy.
Yeah, it's like think about yourself. Have you progressed in
Right.
10 years? I mean, fuck, I
I
hope.
hope.
I hope. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't,
Right.
which is probably the ones talking shit.
And my response was like, that was 10 years ago. Chill out. And he's my good friend. Like, and also
But just like I told you too, when it comes to those, like those people know me. I don't even know their
Right.
name. Right. So it's like that's the relevancy in all this is the fact that you know so much about me, but I don't even know your first name. You know, like there's the difference between me and you.
and you're not one thing.
Yeah.
Like you are not just the shreds guy 10 years ago. Like you are.
To some people.
I know. And that sucks. I think that's kind of one of the double-edged swords about being famous or insta-famous is when something happens, especially something negative, that's what mostly people remember you
Absolutely.
by.
Yeah, that's why I said even for me, like I harp more on my losses than my wins. I focus more on those, and whether in the beginning when I was having those happen, it was hardening me. I was still more focused on them than any of the successes that I built for myself. Even after that too, like anytime I've failed, it's always been the one that I like hone in on every single time. You know, so like I said, we'll go into greater detail from my perspective, just kind of bringing more light to some of the unknowns that were not expressed. And then obviously you'll hear part of the story too. So I'm sure you'll have some random questions to bring up and whatnot. So, and then obviously we go to the next stage, which is another defining moment for me. And that was me being engaged and going through the process of breaking up and dealing with cheating and how to overcome that and realizing, your faults when you're making mistakes. And that was one of the, that first stage with shreds, it hardened me. It didn't grow me. Because at that time I was too young to understand, like, this is a lesson to learn, whether you look at it as like it was your fault, their fault, no one's fault, it was just bad place, bad time type of thing. I didn't take it that way. I wasn't growing from it that way. I was growing to not trust people, growing to feel hardened and separate from people. And so when I get into that next stage of my life, which we'll go into that from the next episode, is, seeing those changes. And then from that change to where I'm at now and how that evolution has continued. So, we'll cover that over the next ones. And then I think, we'll get into, more backstory of, how all those things unfold. I think, we did a good job of kind of giving a overall analysis of what the podcast is going to be, give an introduction to you. I know you wanted to tell the funny stories.
I did.
Harping on that. I think that was your favorite part of the whole thing, was just to tell the funny story.
I mean, that's why I'm here. It's for comedic relief because we know he's not funny.
I'm actually the funniest.
Just funny looking.
We'll probably end up doing like one of those polls over time, like who's the funniest, and I feel like they're going to say me,
We're going to go into how I'm a doctor.
Oh yeah, we'll go into how you're a doctor. I still can't get over the Steven joke, and that was one of the things that I love so much about you too. Is like we can have the deep conversations about Steven, and you posting those pictures, and even when I see him, I'm like, oh, it's just a beautiful thing to see, like the connection that you really love that man, and to go from those types of moments where we were in our fields that way to going to where you're on that podcast and you're talking about how you're what's that thing called?
My vibrator is a Hitachi.
Is it what's it called? A wand?
The magic wand.
Oh, okay.
I bought one that plugs in so it doesn't die on me like my husband did.
When I heard that, I was just like, am I supposed to laugh?
I did a whole 10-minute. We had a comedy show at the gym, professional comedians like HBO, Netflix special comedians, and they do local shows called Don't Tell Comedy to like practice skits and new stuff. And we had one at the gym, like 200 people showed up. And I told them the only way that they could have it is if they let me do a set. I'm not a professional comedian. They let me, and they were like, you get 5 minutes. And I go, I need 10. I did a 10-minute comedy set, and 90% of it was dead husband jokes, and they were fire.
And that was just off the top of your head?
Oh, no, I practiced that for a
it.
month straight.
But were you like, was any of it making you sad?
No, my brother helped me write it. My brother's very, very funny, much funnier than I.
Now, real quick, how do you separate the two?
The funny and
the funny and the like getting emotional. Like, how do you make humor out of that?
It is a part of the emotion. So I've used many different modalities to work through my grief. I do audio journaling. I have this running note called Hurt Poems. It's like almost 100 poems of just like one-liners of just deeply how I feel. Doing the comedy, I started a charity for him, having meets for him, and like all of these different things each scratch a different itch as far as processing my grief.
So like even the humor is like representation of like your guys' relationship.
I mean, he was a funny guy, and he like, we drank his ashes at his funeral and did his leg day. Like that was his wish. Like,
I believe it.
And
The
it
caveman.
was like just a part. The humor and working through it is also like a lot of people take tragedy and turn it into comedy, and that's exactly what I did. And whether it hit for some people or it freaked them out, it worked for me, and it's all been a lovely process of dealing with grief with healthy coping mechanisms, as opposed to I used to have an eating disorder and I was so nervous that I was going to go back into that right away when he died. Drinking, drugs, all of that. Like I barely even drink at all because drinking does make me super sad, and I've recognized that in myself, and I just try not to do it at all.
Well, I feel like we did a good job on this first
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Do you feel
Yeah,
satisfied?
I do want to let the listeners know that we are going to have guests intermittently or sporadically, but the first couple episodes are really,
Yeah, the introduction of who you are, who I
yeah,
am. I think that's important because even though a lot of people, let's say, know me, and then your select few friends do, it's good to like retrack those steps. So if someone jumps on that's never met either one of us, they can start from the beginning and play the important parts of who we are and how this became its thing. But even to piggyback that a little bit too, it's like the people we bring on will be a lot more related to the topics at hand versus bringing someone on just to strictly interview them. Like I want
yep,
this to be a space where if it's not just me and you, it's
they're
it's
there
our
for a
friends
purpose.
or correct, friends for a purpose, acquaintances that we have for purposes, but they're going to bring and add value to the things that we're talking about. If not us just doing it on our own, so those will be few and far between. I don't think we're going to have a mindset of it has to be X amount per month or
Right.
whatever, just whatever flows into our natural state. Some people you may know, some people you may have never seen before. It's just going to be a vast, different majority of people. So I'm definitely excited about that too.
Yeah.
So, before we're closing out, the YouTube was youtube.com/tell
Tell No Lies Pod.
no lies tell no lies
Tell No
pod.
Lies Pod.
I see. I almost said the Tell No Lies
Just Tell No
podcast.
Lies Pod.
Okay, so make sure we're gonna have it on what, Spotify.
We're going to have it on all streaming platforms:
So what are all
Spotify,
those?
Apple Music,
All the
all the
things.
things. Where you
But the main one, if you want to watch it, is youtube.com/tell no lies
or
pod.
just search Tell No Lies Pod. And our website is tellnoliespod.com. Social media,
Yeah, you could tell your social media,
Ashley Contorno.
which we just
We just
switched it.
changed it. I was
Yeah.
veggie lifter for
But
15
that's
years,
gone.
and she
That's part of the
gone.
growth.
I'm still a
Yeah.
vegetarian. I still lift weights, but I am now professionally just Ashley Contorno on Instagram.
And mine's just Devin
Devin
Physique.
Physique.
It's been that way for a long
That's
time.
who he is. And our Instagram for the podcast.
Oh, Instagram is Tell No Lies podcast.
Yes.
We'll get better at our intro
Outro.
and outros as they go. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in on the first episode. We're excited to have you on board for the future. We'll see you soon.
Bye bye.
Peace.
Thank you.